There are moments in life when everything feels like it's suspended in time, like a brief pause before the next chapter unfolds. I remember one such moment clearly, not ordinary day that became the catalyst for everything that followed. The world outside seemed calm and predictable, with the rustle of autumn leaves and the distant hum of life continuing in its steady rhythm. But in that stillness, something deep inside me shifted, a quiet unease that had been growing within me for years finally bubbling to the surface. I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania, surrounded by rolling hills and quiet farmlands. My life was simple, structured by the rhythm of the seasons, with long, hard days in the fields followed by evenings spent in the warmth of my family's home. But as peaceful as it appeared, something in the depths of my heart felt like it was missing. I was raised to believe that salvation was earned, that if I worked hard enough, followed all the rules, and lived a disciplined life, I could earn a place in God's grace. Yet, no matter how much I tried, no matter how many prayers I whispered into the still night, there was always that nagging question, is it enough? My father was a stern, respected figure in our community, the embodiment of faith and obedience. He didn't speak much about emotions, but his love for his family was undeniable. My mother, gentle and kind, spent her days tending to home, her hands busy with quilts and meals, yet I always sensed a quiet sadness behind her eyes, as if she too had unanswered questions about life, faith, and the path we walked. We lived by the unwritten rules that governed our lives, rules that determined everything from the way we dressed to the way we prayed. It was a life defined by duty, obligation, and a constant striving for perfection. But in the silence of my own heart, I feared I was falling short. One fateful day, as I was driving our horse-drawn buggy back from the market, the world around me seemed to move in slow motion. The day had been like any other, but in the distance, I saw something I never expected. A truck speeding toward me, out of control, headed straight for my path. There was no time to react, no time to think. The next thing I knew, there was a deafening crash. The sound of it splintering, the screams of the horse, and my own voice lost in the chaos. My body was thrown into the air, weightless for a moment, before slamming back to reality with an excruciating jolt. And then, everything went dark. There was pain, a sharp, searing agony that seemed to rip through my entire being. But it didn't last long. Slowly, I felt the tension release, and the pain seemed to melt away, replaced by a strange, almost peaceful sensation. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't even in my body anymore. I was somewhere else, somewhere indescribable, somewhere beyond the physical world. I floated in this peaceful void, completely detached from the pain and fear that had once gripped me. It was as if I had crossed into another realm, a place that existed beyond the boundaries of life and death. And in that place, there was something I never expected to see, a figure radiant with light, standing before me. It wasn't the stern image of Jesus I had known from the paintings in our church, the judge who watched over us with a heavy heart. No, this was someone different, someone more real, someone full of warmth and love. His presence was overwhelming, yet it felt like home. It was a love so pure, so deep, it shook me to my core. He looked at me with eyes that seemed to see all of me, not just the surface, but the very depths of my soul. And then, in a voice that was both gentle and powerful, he spoke my name, Samuel. The sound of my name echoed in my heart, as if it was a truth I had always known but never truly understood until this moment. I felt something shift in me. For the first time, I didn't feel like I had to prove anything. I didn't feel like I had to work or strive for approval. In his presence, I felt accepted, loved, whole, but still, a part of me hesitated. I wasn't worthy of this kind of love, was I? My whole life, I had been told that salvation was earned. And yet here I was, in the presence of something greater than I could ever imagine, with no effort on my part other than to be present. Before I could speak, he asked me a question, a simple question that shattered everything I thought I knew. Why are you afraid? Dear friends, if this story resonates with you and you want to be part of our community, don't forget to leave a like and comment your name and city. By doing so, you'll have the chance to be featured in our next video and possibly see your name appear on screen in front of thousands of people. It's your chance for a minute of fame, and we'd love to include you in this experience. And if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Join our growing community where we explore deep spiritual topics together. Your support, in the form of likes and subscriptions, makes all the difference and helps us continue creating videos for you. Thank you for being part of the spiritual journey with us. See you soon for the next chapter. As his voice echoed in my soul, I was paralyzed with both awe and fear. I had heard stories of judgment, of punishment for the unworthy. But in his presence, I felt none of that. There was no anger, no condemnation. Instead, there was an overwhelming sense of warmth, like the embrace of a parent who had waited for their child to return home after a long, difficult journey. For a moment, time itself seemed to stand still. It was as if I had entered a space where earthly concerns no longer held sway. The doubts, the fears, the uncertainty that had plagued my entire life melted away, leaving behind only a profound sense of peace and love. But the question lingered in my mind, echoing in my consciousness. Why am I afraid? I had spent my entire life trying to earn God's approval. I had followed every rule, worked tirelessly, prayed earnestly, but never felt the certainty I had longed for. Was I good enough? Was my effort enough? That doubt had always hovered over me, just beyond my reach. But here, in this place, I realized the answer was not about earning anything. It was about receiving the love, the grace, and the acceptance that was freely offered. As I stood there, suspended between this world and the next, I knew there was something I had never understood until now. Salvation was not a reward for effort. It was a gift. It wasn't about adhering to a set of rules. It was about knowing him. It was about relationship, not religion. He took a step toward me, his presence becoming even more powerful. His eyes, those eyes that seemed to peer into the deepest parts of my being, held something else now, compassion. He understood my doubts, my fears, my desire to be accepted. But more than that, he understood the truth that had eluded me for so long, that I had never truly known him. Samuel, he spoke again, this time with such tenderness. You have known about me, but you have never truly known me. I felt the weight of his words as they settled deep within me. It was a truth that resonated in every fiber of my being. I had followed the rules, prayed the prayers, but I had never truly opened my heart to him. I had been living in fear, trying to prove my worthiness, never realizing that I had already been loved. I had been holding on to a life built on duty, on obligation, and not on love. Suddenly, a flood of memories overwhelmed me. I saw the moments when I had tried so hard to please others, to meet expectations. I saw the times I had acted out of obligation, not love. The times I had been afraid to show my true self, afraid of rejection, afraid of not measuring up. The times I had doubted, but kept it hidden. All of it came crashing down. And for the first time, I realized the weight I had been carrying wasn't mine to bear. Jesus didn't speak again immediately. He just stood there, his gaze never leaving mine. I wanted to speak, to say something, but the words failed me. How could I put into words the overwhelming realization that had just dawned on me? How could I explain how everything I had known about faith, about salvation, had been turned upside down in an instant? But as I stood in his presence, the confusion began to clear. I began to see the truth that had been hidden from me for so long. Love isn't something you work for. It isn't something you can earn. It's something you receive, freely given, no strings attached. And just as quickly as a flood of understanding had come, I felt myself being pulled back into the darkness, back into my body. The peace, the love, the clarity, everything that felt so real, so tangible, was fading, but I wasn't the same anymore. Dear friends, if this story has touched your heart and you want to be part of our community, don't forget to leave a like and comment your name and city. By doing so, you'll have a chance to be featured in our next video and possibly see your name on screen in front of thousands of people. It's your chance for a minute of fame, and we'd love to include you in this experience. And if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Join our growing community where we explore deep spiritual topics together. Your support, in the form of likes and subscriptions, makes all the difference and helps us continue creating videos for you. Thank you for being part of the spiritual journey with us. See you soon for the next chapter. The first thing I noticed as I returned to my body was the pain. It was sharp and overwhelming, as though the weight of the world had suddenly pressed back down on me. I gasped for air, my lungs burning, my chest heaving. I could feel the cold hospital bed beneath me, the sterile smell of the room, the harsh reality of the world pressing in. I wanted to close my eyes again, to escape back into that peace I had just left behind. But I couldn't. I was here, and I had come back for a reason. The events of that moment, the brief journey I had taken beyond this world, were still fresh in my mind. I could still feel his presence, the warmth, the safety, the love that enveloped me. But now, I was in a world that seemed distant, foreign. I was no longer surrounded by that infinite light, that divine embrace. Instead, I was here, in this physical world, bound by the limits of time and space. I blinked my eyes open, and the sterile white walls of the hospital room greeted me. The hum of machines filled the air, and the quiet beeping of monitors was the only sound breaking the silence. But it didn't feel real. It was as though I had woken up from a dream, but the dream was the only thing that felt real. This world felt cold, empty by comparison. The realization hit me like a tidal wave. I had been given another chance. I had been pulled back into this life for a reason. But why? Why had I been returned? What was I supposed to do now? I looked around the room. My family gathered around my bed, their faces etched with concern. My father, my mother, people I had spent my whole life trying to please, to live up to their expectations. And yet, despite everything I had done, despite all the effort I had put into following the rules, I had never felt at peace. I had never felt like I was enough. But now I understood. I wasn't meant to earn his love. I wasn't meant to prove my worth. I was already loved. I always had been. I had spent my entire life searching for something that was always within my reach. I had been trying to earn what was already freely given. I had spent years following a set of rules out of fear, out of obligation, never understanding the true message of love that lay beyond all of it. And then I remembered his words. You knew about me, but you never knew me. In that moment, I realized just how much of my life had been spent in fear. Fear of disappointing my parents, my community, my faith. Fear of not being enough, of not measuring up to the impossible standards I had set for myself. But in his presence, there was no fear. There was only love, only grace. The light I had felt, the warmth, the overwhelming peace. It was all real. It was more real than anything I had ever known. And I knew, deep down, that I couldn't go back to the way things were. I couldn't live a life defined by duty and obligation anymore. I had been shown the truth, and now, there was no turning back. The next few days were a blur of hospital visits, physical therapy, and the quiet whispers of my family. But I couldn't focus on any of it. My mind kept returning to that moment, to that place where everything had changed. The love I had felt, the truth that had been revealed to me, it consumed me. I could no longer live in the shadows of doubt and fear. I had to step into the light, into the truth that I had been shown. And then it became clear, the mission I had been given, the reason I was brought back, it was simple. It was to share the love I had received, to share the grace that had been freely given to me. I was not meant to live in fear. I was not meant to live for the approval of others. I was meant to live in his love, to embrace it fully, and to share it with those around me. I had been given a second chance, and I would not waste it. Dear friends, if this story has inspired you, and you want to be part of our community, don't forget to leave a like and comment your name and city. By doing so, you'll have the chance to be featured in our next episode and possibly see your name on screen in front of thousands of people. It's your chance for a minute of fame, and we'd love to include you in this experience. And if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Join our growing community where we explore deep spiritual topics together. Your support in the form of likes and subscriptions makes all the difference and helps us continue creating videos for you. Thank you for being part of this spiritual journey with us. See you soon for the next chapter. The days following my return to the world were filled with a kind of urgency I had never felt before. It wasn't a physical urgency, but a deep spiritual one. like a fire inside my soul that wouldn't allow me to rest until I understood the full meaning of my experience. It was as though the veil between what I had known and what I had just discovered had been ripped open, and now I could see the world through new eyes. The more I reflected on what had happened, the clearer it became that my life had always been about striving to be good enough, to follow the rules, to please the people around me. But that wasn't the truth. The truth wasn't about earning salvation. It was about receiving grace. It wasn't about following a strict set of rules to gain approval. It was about embracing a relationship with the divine, with Jesus, and accepting the love he freely gave. I felt an overwhelming sense of peace as I embraced this new understanding. I didn't have to be perfect. I didn't have to live in fear of making mistakes. I had already been forgiven. The weight of my past, the guilt and the fear that had plagued me for so long, began to lift, and with it came a deep sense of freedom, a freedom I had never known. As the days passed, I found myself growing more and more connected to this new truth. I started to see the people around me differently. No longer was I bound by the judgment of others, by the fear of disappointing those I loved. I began to understand that true love, divine love, is not about earning favor or approval. It's about being loved in spite of our flaws, our mistakes, and our shortcomings. But this wasn't just about me. I had been given a message, a mission to share the love and grace I had experienced. It was no longer enough to just live in the peace I had found. I had to spread it. I had to tell others that they too could experience this freedom, this love that was freely given to all who believed. I couldn't keep it to myself. The path ahead of me wasn't clear, but I knew that this was what I had been called to do, to share the truth I had been shown, to live in the love I had received, and to help others find the peace that had eluded me for so long. And so, I set out on this new journey, determined to walk in the light I had discovered, to follow the path that would lead me to greater understanding, and share the message of grace and love that had changed my life forever. Dear friends, if this story resonates with you and you want to be part of our community, don't forget to leave a like and comment your name and city. By doing so, you'll have the chance to be featured in our next episode and possibly see your name appear on screen in front of thousands of people. It's your chance for a minute of fame, and we'd love to include you in this experience. As I continued on my journey, something began to shift within me. It wasn't just external change. It was internal transformation, a deep, almost imperceptible change that started in my heart and rippled out to every part of my life. The more I embraced the truth of God's grace, the more I saw the world in a new light. Every moment became an opportunity to experience His love, to share His truth, and to walk in the peace that now filled my heart. The weight I had carried for so long, this burden of trying to be good enough, of striving for approval, was lifting, and with it came a new sense of freedom, a freedom that I could never have imagined. For the first time, I felt like I was truly living. I didn't have to hide behind my fear or my doubts. I didn't have to pretend to be someone I wasn't. I was free to be who I was, flaws and all, loved and accepted exactly as I was. But with this freedom came responsibility, a responsibility to share what I had learned, to help others discover the same peace and love that had transformed my life. I couldn't keep it to myself anymore. I had been given a second chance, a chance to live a life I had always been afraid to live. But more than that, I had been given a mission to help others understand that they too could be free, that they didn't have to earn God's love. They just had to accept it. I began to reach out to those around me, to speak about the love I had discovered, the grace that had been freely given to me. I shared my story, not as a testimony of my own righteousness, but as a testimony of God's unmerited grace. I share the message that salvation is not something we can earn, but something we must receive with an open heart. I share the truth that God loves us just as we are, and that nothing we do can separate us from His love. The more I shared, the more I saw the impact it had. People who have been living in fear, who have been trying to earn their way to God, began to understand. They began to feel the same peace, the same freedom that I had experienced. And I realized that this was the true power of grace. It doesn't just change us, it changes those around us as well. I began to see that the mission I had been given was not just about speaking words. It was about living out the message of grace every day. It was about showing others through my actions that they were loved, that they didn't have to work for God's love, but simply receive it. And in that process, I felt more alive than ever before. There were still challenges ahead, still moments when doubt would creep in. But now, I had a foundation I could stand on, a foundation built on grace, love, and the unshakable truth that God's love is free, unconditional, and always available. And with each passing day, I felt more and more compelled to share this message, to let others know that no matter where they were in life, no matter what they had done or hadn't done, they too could experience the freedom and peace that I found. Dear friends, if this message has touched your heart and you want to be part of our community, don't forget to leave a like and comment your name and city. By doing so, you'll have a chance to be featured in our next episode and possibly see your name on screen in front of thousands of people. It's your chance for a minute of fame, and we'd love to include you in this experience. As I continued along this new path, each day seemed to unfold with more purpose, more clarity. The peace I had felt when I first embraced the truth of God's grace hadn't faded. On the contrary, it had deepened, transforming the way I looked at the world and at myself. There are still moments of doubt, moments when I wonder if I was truly worthy of this newfound peace. But each time those doubts crept in, I would remind myself of what I had learned. God's love is not something I had to earn. It was already there, waiting for me to accept it, just as it was waiting for all of us. I began to see how powerful that message was, not just for me, but for everyone I encountered. The truth of God's grace wasn't just something to be heard. It was something to be experienced. It was something that could change lives, could bring people back from the brink of despair, could give hope to those who had none. And as I shared my story, as I spoke about the grace that had been so freely given to me, I saw that it was touching hearts in ways I could never have imagined. The more I shared, the more I realized how much I had been holding back. For so many years, I had kept my true self hidden, afraid of judgment, afraid of rejection. But now I was free. I was free to be who I was, free to embrace the love and grace that had always been there for me. And I knew that I had to continue this journey, not for myself, but for others. I had to help others see the truth, to help them understand that they didn't have to work for God's love. They could receive it, just as I had. But this wasn't always easy. There were people who didn't understand, people who didn't want to hear about grace. It was hard not to take their rejection personally, but I had to remember that it wasn't about me. It was about the message. It was about sharing the truth that could set people free, whether they were ready to hear it or not. And so I pressed on. I shared the message of grace whenever I could, whenever the opportunity presented itself. I talked to strangers, to friends, to family members who had always been skeptical of the idea that salvation could be so simple, so free. But each conversation, each moment of sharing, reminded me that this was my purpose. This was the mission I had been given. It wasn't about changing people's minds. It was about changing their hearts. It was about helping them see that they didn't have to strive, didn't have to prove themselves worthy. They were already loved, already accepted, just as they were. And with each person who understood, with each person who embraced that truth, I felt more and more fulfilled. This was what I was meant to do. This was a life I had been given, and I would not waste it. Dear friends, if this story has touched your heart and you want to be part of our community, don't forget to leave a like and comment your name and city. By doing so, you'll have the chance to be featured in our next episode and possibly see your name on screen in front of thousands of people. It's your chance for a minute of fame, and we'd love to include you in this experience. If you haven't subscribed yet, we'd really appreciate it if you would join our community by subscribing to the channel. We don't make money from this. We do it because we genuinely love sharing these stories. Your like and subscription would really help us continue creating more content like this for you. Thank you for being a part of this journey. The light that had guided me, the love that had transformed my life, was no longer just something I had experienced. It was something I had become a part of. Every step I took on this new path felt more like a homecoming than a journey. It wasn't just about following a set of rules anymore. It was about living in the love and grace that I had been shown. It was about sharing that love with the world, letting others know that they too could experience the same freedom, the same peace that I had found. But I knew my mission wasn't finished. There were still so many people who needed to hear the truth, who needed to feel the love that had set me free. And so I continue to speak, to share, to live out the message I have been given. The more I spoke, the more I realized how much power there was in sharing our stories, in connecting with others, and in showing them that they weren't alone in their struggles. I had found peace in knowing that I wasn't striving to earn God's love anymore. I didn't have to worry about whether I was good enough. I had already been accepted, already been loved, just as I was. And that was the truth I wanted to share with the world. Every day became a new opportunity to live out that love, to touch lives, and to be part of something greater than myself. It wasn't always easy, and there were moments when doubts would creep in. But each time, I would remind myself of the journey I had taken, the truth that had set me free. And with that, I felt stronger, more empowered to keep going. This wasn't just a story about one person's transformation. It was a story about all of us, about the love that is available to every single person, no matter who they are, where they've been, or what they've done. The truth is that God's love is for everyone, and it is never too late to accept it, to embrace it, and to let it transform your life. So, I continue on this path, not as someone with all the answers, but as someone who has experienced the transformative power of love and grace. And I know that this journey, this mission, will continue to unfold in ways I can't yet imagine. Dear friends, if this story has touched your heart and you want to be part of our community, don't forget to leave a like and comment your name and city. By doing so, you'll have the chance to be featured in our next episode and possibly see your name on screen in front of thousands of people. It's your chance for a minute of fame, and we'd love to include you in this experience. If you haven't subscribed yet, we'd really appreciate it if you would join our community by subscribing to the channel. We don't make money from this. We do it because we genuinely love sharing these stories. Your like and subscription would really help us continue creating more content like this for you. Thank you for being a part of this journey. And before you go, don't miss out on the next video. It will be even more revealing and transformative for your life. Just click on the video that's appearing on the screen right now. And don't forget to leave a like and comment. Amen, to continue being blessed. you